Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our Breaking Bad review, Season 4, Episodes 1 through 8. I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here with...
AJ Talent, and like he said, this is our Breaking Bad Season 4 overview.
Yeah.
But we already did episode reviews for each individual episode, so go check those out. This is actually the season where I came in. Before this, you were just shooting a solo.
So, yeah, we probably need to give an explanation why we're still doing this after, because we said we have this done before the movie came out. So here's what happened. This is on me, because I thought we had more time than we did, but then I didn't realize I forgot I had plans Wednesday night, and then he went home. So obviously that lost, because that's like a whole day's bus ride and everything.
Yeah, it's like a 4-hour drive,
and then I went to New Hampshire, yeah, pretty much. If we had like another week, I think we would have gotten it done. But it's just time just kind of got away from me, I guess. So there's that.
All right, so
yeah,
as we've been saying,
as we have to make the joke, season 4 is not a lucky season for me when it comes to Breaking Bad, because I took really I took a 3-year break from it this season, and it's the season that because we were doing so well with like the first 3 seasons, and then I don't know what happened. Like we started watching season 4, and then we just didn't do the videos on it yet. So
yeah, geez, hey, if it wasn't for me, this guy wouldn't even finish Breaking Bad. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
By the way, we've already made like a ton of these videos, so you should know this already. But if you want to see our like in the moment opinions on Breaking Bad episodes, go check out the reviews. This is like in hindsight, we've already seen the series. In my case, I've already seen the movie.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm at least happy. I guess in a sense, like when we get to like the end of like season 5, doing that review, it would be nice because you have obviously you can't say anything, but you'll actually already know what happens to Jesse post Breaking Bad, and I won't.
Yeah. So that's really cool. But anyway, again, we will be spoiling things that happen up until the series finale in season 5, Felina. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gus's partner dies.
Gets blown up.
Oh yeah, that too.
I mean, I figured that was the perfect one because that's like the build up of the whole season. So
yeah. I was just saying what happens at the end of like this batch.
Yeah. Which one did you say? Because we said it simultaneously.
Oh, I said Gus's partner dies.
Oh, that's actually perfect too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this season. So this probably we talked about season 3 was like the setting stages of when Breaking Bad became like the best show like ever, or like one of the best shows depending on who you talk to. Season 4 confirmed that.
Absolutely. Season 4 is amazing.
Yeah.
It's only topped by season 5 in my opinion. If this show ended at season 4, I would have been totally fine with that.
Yeah. Obviously the ending I think would get like
I mean, I'm so glad season 5 happened, but like season 4 was still so good,
Yeah. But like not an episode like you pretty much can't miss an episode in season 4, I think, is what's so good about it. If you miss an episode, you're gonna be kind of, I guess you won't be completely like lost, but it helps to see like every episode.
Each episode is important in my opinion. And like season 1 was good for setting up the world, but like you probably could have missed an episode or 2 and been fine.
Yeah.
As long as you get the gist. Walt has cancer. Jesse's a junkie. They kill some people, make some meth. There you go. That's season 1.
And then season 2 is like them kind of like doing it in the street level. You probably could have missed like a few episodes after like the Tuco stuff and be fine. In between it, I'm talking about like, and then season 3, you could probably like miss, even though like the Fly episode and be fine. But
season 4 is like. Season 3 was like that transition from street level to like professional. Like they're like at the top. This is like them at the top. They're like really in the business now.
And now season 4 is just that. So we're not gonna try to make this. I say that now, but it will be. We'll make this video too long because me and AJ will like already reviewing the show. Like by the time the first like 4 episodes we're gonna kind of go over it like a little bit depthly because he wasn't there for like the first 4, but like the rest, we'll just kind of like talk about the highlights because
Yeah, because we
he
already
was there.
an in depth for each episode. And anyway, this series is like an overview anyway, so we don't go super in depth anyway.
Yeah. So obviously we'll start with like episode 1 because that's kind of where we have to start. It kicks off like right after the events of season
like
3.
5 seconds after the end of season 3.
Yeah. And we find we do see like the shot where Jesse actually ended up shooting Gale. Victor goes over to Gale's house and basically he walks in there and we see like people like calling the cops and stuff talking about the murder. I think they said one of the guys was like a famous actor from like way back in the day, but I forget which. It's the guy that's on the phone, but I forget everything about him. But that's what they said. And Victor gets spotted, and that kind of becomes important for like the end of the episode. And he holds Jesse gunpoint, and he brings him.
It should be important to say that like Jesse shot Gale, and he ran to the car to get away.
Yeah.
Like once he got to the car, he just like froze up. Like he didn't even try to run.
Yeah.
So clearly Jesse's a little out of it after having killed someone for the first time.
And like Jesse really doesn't. He's basically like in a trance-like state until like the Denny scene, pretty much. Victor and brings Jesse back to the super lab, and
pretty much holding Walt hostage, pretty much.
Yep.
So now Jesse and Walt have both been caught.
Victor basically confirms to Mike that like their plan worked because obviously Mike wasn't sure. He had a feeling, but like this confirmed it. And we find out like Victor got seen by people, so that kind of, like I said, becomes important. And the whole episode is kind of like Victor trying to prove to Walt that like even though your plan worked, we're not missing no cook, because he tries himself to like cook Walt's formula, so that way they can eliminate Walt and Jesse. And Walt's kind of being arrogant about it because he thinks like he has no clue what he's doing. But like I do like it because like Walt's like listed off instructions like saying, I bet he's gonna forget the aluminum, and then he remembered the aluminum, and Walt's kind of like, shit, because pretty much if Victor can get this perfect, there's no need for Walt.
And they're screwed. There's no point in getting rid of Gale.
Yeah.
And I do like how Victor's like, it's like a recipe, you just gotta follow it, and that's kind of what Jesse does later on. Like Jesse doesn't understand what the fuck he's doing, but like he's able to cook meth almost as good as Walt by the end, So.
Yep. And then we have the scene where Gus comes in, and the scene where Gus comes in is awesome. It's probably like my top 10 favorite Breaking Bad scenes.
Eventually we will do like a top 10 Breaking Bad moments and Death Note videos.
Actually, we were off camera. We were listing off a bunch of them. I'm surprised I didn't mention this one because it's pretty damn awesome. Just realized I'm gonna turn my other light on. My camera. I forgot to turn that on. But oh, he froze. I should have stood up. Blue.
Yay.
That's what I get for standing up, I guess.
All right, well, just cut that out or something. I don't know. I don't know. You're the one who edits the videos.
I just leave it in. I mean, all right, but then Gus finally shows up, and since you talked about the Gale scene, I'll talk about this scene. Pretty much Gus, when he shows up, he kind of has like the same thing with Walt Eisenberg. He's wearing darker clothes. When Gus is kind of like in that drug kingpin territory, he himself's wearing darker clothes, and you can just tell like he's in like he's like a different person because he looks angry and more aggressive. And basically he shows up, and we're not really sure what he's gonna do. If he's gonna kill Walt, if he's gonna kill Jesse, we're not really sure, but he's pissed. and I think they actually cut this perfectly because I think it went to it went to like a commercial like right when Gus showed up and went black. That was a perfect time to time that. And this is where we were thinking about talking about this, where Gus and Giancarlo the actor that plays Gus, are like two completely different people because it's just so crazy. It just shows how great the actor is because you see like the guy in real life is like pretty down to earth, and kind of has like his comedy wits about him, and is basically like the nicest person you'll probably ever meet. Where like Gus is like this cold-blooded, ruthless drug kingpin, pretty much, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, he walks down to the super lab, and Walt is fighting pretty much for not only his own life but also Jesse's life, pretty much like saying that you need us because we're the only ones that can produce your product prominently, and like he basically tells Gus like you're not gonna ruin production because he's invested so much money into the super lab and everything, and he talks about like if it's me and Jesse versus Gale loses because he even talks about how he even feels bad for Gale, and we see Gus kind of like put it on like the lab coats and everything, and he grabs the box cutter, and it's very fitting because the name of this episode is Box Cutter, and we find out why in this scene. And we think he's gonna. He even goes over to Walt, and we think that like Walt is gonna get killed by Gus or somebody, but then he pans over.
How during this whole scene, Gus doesn't even like look at them. He's just walking by. He puts on the suit. Walt's like begging and everything. Honestly, this was probably the scene where I think Walt looked like the most pathetic. He was just begging for his life, basically, or trying to negotiate. And Gus, I love how Gus doesn't say anything until the very end.
And then Gus slices Victor's throat, and basically he bleeds out and dies.
And I love how even Mike is like freaked out. Like for a second, Mike like steps back and like points his gun at Gus because he's just like so. Like, what the hell happened?
And, like, it's one thing to scare, like, Jesse. It's one thing to scare Walt. But scaring Mike was, like, that's when like, this was, Gus was no one to be messed with. Because, like, Mike, throughout the whole show, we haven't seen, has been, like, pretty much has been, like, a badass and not afraid of anybody. So, I thought that was really damn awesome. And then he drops the box cutter, and, he walks up the lab, and then he just tells everyone, get back to work, and leaves. Like, he didn't say a word, like,
a word before that, until that, which is pretty great. Just, Gus seems like a monster there, and I love it.
And it's like, it's the, even though it started back in season 3, this is kind of like the real, like, full starting of, like, that chess match we see Walt and Gus have throughout the whole season, was right here. And I've since I have the DVD, which I forgot to show off, actually, I should show that off. It's right here, season 4, and then they have it here. You see like all of the cast. You see Hank in his wheelchair and everything, and you see the soon-to-be Better Call Saul cast and Walt and Jesse making a cameo. So, there you go. But they did this. You could like see multiple takes of it. Like you can see like outtakes of them doing the scene, which is pretty damn cool. And Giancarlo Esposito talked about like how this only like really took one take because he had to get, but it was pretty damn hard for him to like stay in that serious mode for that amount of time because I think it took him, it didn't take him a few takes, but it was pretty tough. And even Bryan Cranston, even talked about like how he was in real life like a little scared, like he was like a completely different person when he saw him.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
and I mean it's a good couple minute long scene of him just like blanks. Like his face is blank, but you can tell like he's like on the verge of just wanting to kill Walt. Yeah. Like he wants to kill Walt, but he knows he can't. So it's like Jesse says at the Denny scene. He's gonna make their life a living hell.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about the Danny scene?
Well, before that, um, Walt and Jesse have to get rid of Victor's body, which is it's a pretty cool scene. Um, it just shows they're a lot better at it now. They need Mike's help, but even Mike is like, so is this like acid stuff gonna work? And Jesse's like, trust me, we're experts.
Yeah.
And I like the way Walt looks at him, like, yeah, okay, Jesse's clearly not doing all right.
Yeah, I do think what, and this is like another behind the scenes thing, like when they struggled to get Victor's body in, that was like legit. They legitimately couldn't get it in there, so that's why they had to improvise. And yeah, it's really cool to like see like, you know, Victor get like melted like that. And yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, because they obviously can't leave, you know, any evidence of that. But yeah, then talk about the Denny scene.
Yeah. So after that whole thing happens, Jesse and Walt go to a Denny's, you know, lovely breakfast after seeing someone get their throat cut open and having to dissolve them. So Walt is like asking Jesse if he's all right, and Jesse's just like avoiding it, kind of like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And Walt wants to like strategize on what to do because, you know, Gus is gonna kill them as soon as he gets the chance.
Yeah.
But Gus says he's not going to because it took years to find someone who he could trust, and it was as good as Gale.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Walt only has like a year to live, and Jesse doesn't really care about his own life right now, so he's like, whatever, we're fine.
And they talk about, Walt tries to talk to Jesse too, because we've talked about this scene, like pretty much he had to kill Gale. He pretty much had no choice. But you know, Jesse's still kind of avoiding it.
Yeah, so Walt's trying to make him feel better, which is really cool. But Jesse says what I said earlier, that like Gus, that whole thing was to make a point that if I can't kill you, I'll make your life a living hell, and you'll wish you were dead.
Yep.
And I feel like he had a few reasons to kill Victor. Like you said, Victor got seen by people at the crime scene.
So he kind of saw him like as a liability.
Yeah, Victor was like a message to Walt and Jesse.
Yeah.
And Walt says this later on. I don't remember if it's in this part or not. It's at some point in season 4.
No, it's season 5.
Season 5. Yeah, Walt is like, I think I know why Gus killed Victor. It was like Victor started cooking without his permission. It was like he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
So he probably killed Victor for like all of the above.
Yeah. And you know, or yeah, like I said, like you said too, there's 3 reasons. Either Victor was a liability to send a message to Walt and Jesse, flew close to the sun, or all the above. Yeah. Or maybe Gus just felt like it. He's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna.
It's a really nice box cutter. Like I was gonna use it on Walt, but like I already, you know, hey Victor, can you come here for a sec? You know, thanks. Yep. I was gonna kill Mike, but like he's too important for the plot.
Yeah. You know, I killed him because it was in the script. That's why I killed him. Exactly.
Victor, you're generic. Come here.
Yep. But then yeah, that's like the whole episode of like not season 1, episode 1. It's just kind of like, you know, setting that like stage, like that chess match with like Walt and Gus.
Yeah, it was just like wrapping up everything that happened at the end of season 3.
Yeah.
Like figure out, okay, how'd that cliffhanger end?
And then starting everything that happens.
Starting everything that happens in season
4. And you know, then in episode 2, basically not a lot happens, but it like you know, it's a lot of side plot stuff. Like you see Walt basically trying to do everything he can to kill Gus because he knows like he doesn't really know like when Gus is gonna find a new chemist. He could find one in a second, and then once Gus finds a new chemist, Walt and Jesse are dead pretty much because they're not really needed anymore. So Walt buys.
Walt buys a gun and he's like sitting in a chair, like trying to practice like pulling it out.
And
kill like Gus has his goons around him all the time. So Walt's trying to think of like as soon as I see Gus and I get the chance, I'm just gonna quickly do it.
Yeah, and he buys like a gun that can't be traced. So he buys like a gun that's unlicensed pretty much. But pretty much Walt and Gus are like never allowed to be. Gus is making sure like Walt's never gonna be in the same room with them. I like the scene where we first meet Tyrus, and we think it's Gus because they basically look alike if you don't see their face. And you
Racist,
put
but okay, no, I'm kidding.
yeah, and he goes to pull out his gun, but then when he sees that it's Tyrus, he's like surprised about it. Then he tries to go to his house, but I believe Tyrus like calls him and tells him to go home pretty much.
Yeah, that was a really cool scene. Like, because you think it's like, all right, badass Heisenberg. He puts the hat on. He does like the hat thing.
Yeah.
He starts walking over to Gus's house because he knows where he knows where he lived. Because he got invited over before.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he gets a phone call. He answers it, and he just hears, "Go home, Walter." And he just looks around and he can't see anyone.
Yeah. So it's
That's
like
one of those. It's like that. It's like the car scene at the end. Towards the end of season 4.
yeah.
Where just like it seems like Gus has like this sixth sense.
Yeah. And then
like he's just untouchable.
he tries to like manipulate Mike into getting him in a room because basically he says like Gus could do the same thing to you like that he did to Victor and stuff, but Mike basically doesn't want to be manipulated and stuff, and he just beats the crap out of Walt. He punches him in the face and kicks him in the ribs a couple of times, and like I said,
because Walt heard his drink order, so he's gonna hijack that once he kills Mike.
Yeah. And then this is where you can make another argument where Mike took another half measure because he could have killed Walt right in the ball.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe not kill him, but
Yeah.
Because I mean, there were a lot of people around, and Gus kind of needed Walt.
Yeah.
Like he could have crippled him or something,
So basically, why don't you talk about everything going on with Jesse? I guess because it kind of ties into episode 3 too.
So Jesse's just like having constant parties at his house.
Yeah.
Just because he's like wants to take his mind off of what happened with Gail.
Yeah.
And I think it's like he was playing video games at some point, and like it was like a shooter game, and like every time he like shot an enemy, he pictured Gail. So like he's just having like a lot of like PTSD and like guilt.
And he is also like at first it's like a party like that you would want to be at, like a typical college party, I guess you would see, or like a typical drug addict party.
Like dancing around, doing shit.
But then it gets like
not even like a drug party, just people are just having a good time,
But then it gets dark because like eventually when he has to be left by himself, he just lets like homeless people and like drug addicts just stay at his house.
Yeah, it's just like because anytime anyone wants to leave, he's like, "Hey, let's get some pizza," or like, "Hey, have some money," or something,
Yeah.
Just like he has or he wants to distract people to distract him.
Yeah.
But eventually, like they've been there for like 2 days, and Skinny Pete and Badger are like, "All right, dude, look, sorry, man, we gotta like go."
Yeah, and then there's like
not like in a dick way, just like we've been partying for like 2 days, we gotta go home.
And then there's like a scene where he goes like go-karting, and you see like Jesse's like driving the go-kart, and he's just losing it like in his head, like he's like screaming and everything like that because he's so depressed. It's so cool because they originally did it with music, but those like deleted scenes where it like shows them like full on doing it without music or anything, and it's pretty damn cool. So yeah, Jesse's just physically depressed pretty much. It was really sad to see Jesse like in this situation in a sense.
Yeah, because like he like just got over his depression over Jane,
Yeah, and he was like getting clean and everything, and pretty much now he's like back on it's drugs now pretty much and stuff.
And I like what you said earlier about like how like it's not just like Jane died and now Jesse's off his drugs. He's not doing drugs anymore. He's good. He's clean. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yep. Then meanwhile, because this ties into both kind of episode 2 and 3 and even 1, basically Hank and Marie's relationship has taken like a turn for the worst. Marie wants to do everything for Hank, because obviously he can't do anything himself because he's crippled pretty much. But Hank's kind of being really rude to her because Hank's just so depressed that like pretty much he can't do anything for himself, but he has no real purpose in life because all he can do is really just lay in bed and really not do anything.
Yeah, he's just irritable, like he's snappy over whatever she does, and like
yeah,
and like
and
I feel really bad for Marie, but you also can't blame Hank,
yeah, it's just kind of one of those
It's
things.
just a screwed up situation,
And this is the episode. This is the season where Hank becomes like obsessed with minerals, and it's a running joke throughout the whole season where Maria, like somebody else will call him rocks, and he'd be like the mineral. He always corrects me like the minerals. And I feel like there's like a hidden meaning behind it. Maybe it was Hank, like this is like Hank now starting to think about things outside the box type of thing now because the minerals kind of give you the opportunity to do that. So
yeah, I'm sure there's some symbolic meaning or something. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm sure there's a symbolic meaning of Walt and Hank both being bald.
Right. But then so meanwhile, Marie kind of
sorry. By the way, I really like Marie and Hank are probably like my favorite like relationship in the show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean like relationship as in like romantic. Like
yeah.
In terms of like relationship in general of Walt and Jesse.
Yeah. And then because like it's just such a shitty situation. Pretty much, Marie's trying to like do everything she can to kind of like be in good like spirits. I even like they do like a little scene where Hank's like finally kind of like walks, but like their high five isn't really like a high five like you would like that. It's kind of like a nonchalant like type of high five where you can just feel like there's tension between them and stuff like that. And eventually it leads to Marie becoming going back to a kleptomaniac where she's shoplifting again pretty much, except this time she's not shoplifting, she's stealing from like open houses that they have, which is you feel bad for Marie because it's kind of like
I think it's like someone like comes like pick her up. I think it's like Hank's like rehab like trainer.
Yep.
Comes to pick him up, and he's like.
Actually, no, it's the guy it's the guy Tim who helped find who was the guy that was like looking for Walt when Tuco kidnapped him and stuff.
Right. So yeah, he shows up and he's like, "Want me to take you home?"
Yeah.
And she like starts crying, like shakes her head no.
Yeah.
It's so like she doesn't. I'm sure she doesn't blame Hank, but like it's just it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
And now earlier in the show, we saw a flashback with Gail and Gus, and it was like kind of like when they were like getting the super lab all ready. We saw like Gail had this notebook, and I kind of think that's a cool scene because we find out Gail is basically kind of the reason Gus hired Walt in that scene because he was kind of like
he wasn't gonna do it, but Gail was like saying like this is like the best product ever. Whoever made this is like a genius. You got to have him.
Now that I watch it back now, you feel even more bad for Gail because like the coffee machine.
He basically led Walt to killing him and Gus.
And also too, that coffee machine he made gets stolen from him pretty much because it gets used throughout the rest of the season pretty much.
Oh right,
like
yeah. You know what? That's the worst thing Walt done. Sure, he dissolved the kid and like he caused 2 planes to blow up, but like stealing a man's coffee machine.
Yeah. No go. That was you
that's the real reason why Hank wanted to catch Heisenberg so bad.
Yeah. You always ask like what was the point of Walt's no return? He's still a coffee machine, man. Like come on.
Sure, he let you see girlfriend choke on her own vomit, but like come on.
Yeah.
It's coffee. I don't even drink coffee, and I'm like disgusted.
Yeah. But anyhow, so we see like what the police were like taking pictures of the crime scene. We see that Gail has the folder again. And what do you talk about that? How because that folder becomes very, very important, actually extremely important throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah. All right. So Tim is the one who ends up getting the folder with all of like Walt's notes on like just making the blue meth.
Yeah.
And like things like that. And
what's other things too? it's other things too, like vegan recipes and like poems and stuff. Like
Yeah, it's just like Gail's personal folder. So but there's the like blue meth stuff in there. So the police. This leads the police to like knowing that he's involved with the drug trade, and they end up thinking he's Heisenberg, pretty much.
yeah,
And
it's kind of and it's
cool. You want to talk about like how Hank gets the folder?
Yeah, so Tim gives him the folder, and at first Hank really didn't want any part of this because pretty much he became crippled because of the Eisenberg case. So it's kind of like
Hank kind of like lost his like mojo, I guess. He was like so passionate about Heisenberg. Now it's like this thing pretty much ruined my life.
Yeah, but like you see throughout the show, doing the Heisenberg case again gave like Hank motivation to kind of like finally get like kind of give a crap about life again, because when he finally starts looking at the notebook, he finally felt like important. And I think that's the thing too with Hank. He didn't really feel like he was important to anybody, because like that's why he didn't want to do the case at first too. Like I'm not useful to anybody, because he really kind of felt like he wasn't. And at like the end of the episode, it's kind of cool because you see like Hank reading the notebook, which it's kind of like, so where's Hank's tie-in going to be in with this stuff now? Well, that's really cool. Meanwhile, though, we have to kind of segue back, because this is when they start to build up the car wash scene. And we always talk about how Walt didn't want to get Skylar involved because he didn't want her to get hurt in any of this. I think like too, it became an annoyance to Walt and a nuisance because he hated his life. I think because
at this point he's so done with her.
Because like. He gets into a freaking ball fight and he's like worrying about his own life, and all Skylar wants to talk about is just get in a car wash, and it's like that's like the last thing like on his mind right now. But it's really cool because you see Skylar's trying to do this like professionally, like she tries to like do all the research and stuff and tries to get the car wash the right way, but the owner, whose name I can't Bogdan, who actually legitimately is like not a chemist, but he's like some type of scientist like at a university and stuff. It's actually in real life, so kind of worked out that way. She basically says when he realizes that it's Skylar and he won't pay any less than $20 million because of like him and Walt's relationship and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So you start to see. I mean, I feel like we don't talk about it but what's another cool thing is you kind of start to see like Skylar now kind of like become fueled by like the criminal business in a sense. Like you see yeah, like you see like earlier in the season she pretends like to have like a panic attack so that way the locksmith would like let her into Walt's apartment and stuff. And pretty much they have to figure out a way to get this car wash, and Skylar manipulates Walt into getting that one because she has like a personal gripe now against Bogdan since the altercation didn't go so well. So they come up with a good.
I think like Walt's like kind of like neutral on it, but then she mentioned like that he like insulted Walt, and Walt's like, all right, never mind, we gotta screw this guy over.
So it's kind of like Walt's ego got hurt a little bit now too, and I think one thing we should talk about like that they talk
Saul
about
was kind of be like was trying to be like the voice of reason.
Yeah, and one thing they talk about too is like Saul's trying to manipulate Walt, but it's like a constant battle because Skylar's kind of like manipulating Walt, and it's affecting Saul in a way now too and stuff. So I think that's
Saul should have just been like, Skylar, stop manipulating Walt. I'm the one who does that.
Yeah, and then and then
Walt ends up manipulating them both later on.
Yep.
Not even manipulating, just like overpowers them, and is like, nope, you guys are doing what I want.
Yep. And now Saul, you're going to Alaska.
Where was it he ended up going to? It wasn't Alaska. It was
I watched season 5 and I remember.
Yeah, he says at some point. Anyway, whatever.
But then so they come up with this plan pretty much to like send one of Saul's guys down there to basically fake that that the water is not in good condition, that it's going to cause all this pollution. And Sky's like feeding him lines to say, and like talking about all the codes and stuff. It's really cool because Skylar like even like at one point said, is that enough information for you. It's like she's checkmating him like as he's doing it, but so it's pretty cool. So obviously, and this actually makes sense in the real world. Bogdan pretty much is gonna screw them, thinking he's gonna screw them over. It's like, here, let me give you this business, but you have to deal with all this polluted water now. So, you know, Skylar gets the call. They make the sale, and I do like this scene because, like, at first Skylar like negotiates and like pretty much tries to get her to get him to lower the price to kind of make it feel like it was believable as possible. But eventually it works. They celebrate, and we find out that Walt bought this expensive champagne that was I forget who I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it was like some famous historian's like favorite champagne. I knew it, but if we I forget it off the top of my head.
Yeah, and Skylar's just like this could ruin our whole story, like we are broke according to everyone else, so we need to make it sure it's like seems that way.
And it's kind of cool because Skylar's even saying like it's in the details, like one small detail could ruin us.
Which is kind of I kind of get that, like the whole Ted situation. Yeah. Where like Ted would just take a little bit of money every now and again, or like buy up with the tax write-offs, and then like it just like built up over time.
Yeah. But it's cool though because in hindsight, that's it. That's pretty much what happened. One detail ruined them pretty much.
And that is Hank taking a dump on their toilet.
Yeah, and Walt leaving out the book. So, Walt didn't listen. And you can see like Skylar's really wanted to be like detail oriented. But they're gonna go to like Hank and Marie's, and Skylar wants pretty much to like, and actually Bullet Points is a special episode because that's the first episode we reviewed together. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So Skylar wants to make sure like everything, that they have everything exactly planned out, like everything they're gonna say. She has scripts written out and everything. And I love it too because Walt's just not having any of this. So it's and I like it too because this kind of goes back to Walt's thing where like the whole thing makes Walt come off looking bad and stuff like that because
like she's like making Walt say like I'm so sorry, and like he tears up a little, and he's like, hey, how come you're not mentioning your affair, huh? How come we're not mentioning that here?
And it kind of goes back to like Walt's story where like he wants Walter Jr. and everyone to remember him in a good sense. So that's so.
Yeah. So like, and he's just like he's so prideful, he doesn't like admit he's wrong.
Yeah. What do you talk about too? Like the scene when they go to Hank and Marie's because it's very that scene becomes very important. Well, that whole sequence becomes very important.
Yeah. So we'll bring this up and then we'll loop back around to Jesse because we haven't really talked about him.
Yeah.
So they go over Hank and Marie's for dinner. Hank and Marie are getting along a little bit better, which is nice.
Could be too because like they're there, so they don't want to.
Yeah, they're there. So, but yeah, for the most part, they're getting along at least. Walter Jr. and Walt go see Hank in his room, and Hank turns on the TV to show them like a suspect, and it ends up being like Gail dancing and doing karaoke on the TV.
Yeah.
And Walt's face, he's like, oh shit, like he's like so freaked out in that moment. I love it.
Yeah, it's the best.
I like how Hank is like, ladies and gentlemen, that is Albuquerque's like most dangerous man or something like that.
And I think too, like this is when like, because you've talked about this before, like when because Walt knew he was wanted by like the DEA, but I don't think he knew like he was like the top suspect until like that scene.
Yeah. So
and one cool thing you can in the DVD, it's like a bonus feature where you can watch like Gail do like the full karaoke, like the whole song. Like
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So kind of like the confession tapes in season 5.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
you can probably find it on YouTube too.
Oh yeah, probably. Season 5. Oh yeah. So words. Walter Jr. leaves the room, and Hank shows Walt like the folder that they found at Gail's apartment, and Hank finds the quote to WW.
Yep.
And Hank says, "Who do you think that means? Who do you think that stands for? Willy Wonka, Wildrow English. Woodrow Wilson, Willy Wonka, Walter White, and Walter plays it off pretty good, but you can tell like he's like really nervous.
Yeah.
Ha, you got me.
Yeah.
And then Walt like quickly like flips it to like a page about Walt Whitman, which
Yeah.
is a real guy apparently. I didn't know that.
You're never
So,
gonna live that down too, because that's only recorded now. The way you actually thought that too.
yeah. Oh God. So yeah, Hank's like, all right, cool. They go out to eat some dinner, and I think you said it was like in like the commentary, but like Walt is like drinking a lot because he's stressed out about the whole Jesse situation.
Yeah.
Gus trying to kill him, and just like the car wash and everything.
Yeah.
And while he's drinking, Skylar's like reading the script and like tearing up and everything.
Yeah.
And Walt just
actually
like,
no, actually no, you got a little bit of it, Juan. But what happens? Yeah, because Skylar, they're actually like going through the script, but like, Walt doesn't really like go through it because he realizes like that Gail, he just found out like Gail's been caught and everything, so it kind of messes up the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then yeah, but this scene's just so cool because because now we find, because this scene gets played again when Hank finds out Walt Eisenberg. And it's like it became like such an iconic scene in the show.
You got me.
Yeah.
And there's so many people joking that like Hank reads that letter in Walt's bathroom. And he's like, "Oh my God, Marie, Willy Wonka is Heisenberg."
Yeah. Yeah, pretty damn funny. But it's really damn cool, and like I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really cool to like I feel like too. I don't know if this. I think the poem that like Walt reads is the name of the poem that's on that episode. Where Hank finds out he's Eisenberg, because I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but that would make sense. So then everything with Jesse. So Walt's worried now because they have a feeling that like, because Hank has like suspicion, I think, in a sense that like, I think Walt thinks Hank has suspicion that like Jesse's the one that like killed Gail and everything. So he goes to like Jesse's house and he tries to have Jesse go through like step by step everything that he did to make sure like there's no loose ends. But because of Jesse's PTSD, he doesn't want to have to relive that moment, so he pays like a couple of guys to like throw Walt out of the house.
And I like how Jesse's like painting his walls. That's kind of like symbolic that he's like trying to like just cover up what he did. And, like, and
this is when Jesse has the new haircut that he has at the end
of the show. Yeah.
And Walt then is like venting us all, and I like this scene a lot. Like Walt's trying to keep everything together. Like he's like, how am I the only one that's like able to to behave professionally? He's talking about like he has to worry about Mike, Gus, Hank catching him, and like the state of Jesse pretty much. And it's just
who thought being a drug lord would have been so much work,
Yeah. And this is when Saul points out that the disappearer, how there's a guy that pretty much that can take you off the grid and no one would be able to trace you. Basically, you go into hiding, but I think it's like not necessarily going into hiding, but it's like 10 times like more than that. Like basically, he's untraceable pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like you're off the grid gives you like a whole new identity, everything.
The only flaw is you can't like you can't get like your old identity back pretty much. So once you do,
well, I mean, you could start saying, "Hey, it's me, guys," but people are gonna be like, "Where the hell did this guy go?"
Yeah,
he just disappeared for 5 years.
Saul says this is an end game, and now that the movie Endgame came out, I'm assuming a lot of that's become a joke now.
Probably. Oh,
probably. But this is cool. What's cool about this is they actually had to go back, and this was like the last like scene they shot because they talk about it obviously like when Walt actually goes and asks for it, but then they were like, we should probably talk about this before we just go into a scene where like, because that would be kind of weird if like Walt went and asked Saul.
Yeah, Walt just like this was never mentioned before, and all of a sudden he's like, "Saul, give me the number of that disappear guy."
And we're like kind of like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, so it was kind of cool. Like they had to go back and like it was like the last scene they shot from like season 4. So
that's cool.
But Walt doesn't want to do it pretty much because basically that would kind of give away his Eisenberg pretty much, where like he just talked to Hank about this case and all of a sudden he just disappeared. Like that's gonna leave a lot of questions right there. Like but then why don't you talk about too what happens with Jesse, because it's very important.
So Jesse's just like at his room, in his house. He has a couple like drug addicts there, and one guy ends up going to Jesse's room and stealing a duffel bag full of money. And Mike returns later with the same guy like all tied up, and he gives Jesse's money back. And Mike is like, "Hey, you're not gonna ask me what I'm gonna do with this guy?" And Jesse's like, "Nope." So
Yep.
Jesse just like does not give a shit. We never even find out what happened. We never see what happens with the guy. I'm assuming Mike kills him.
Yeah, probably because he's the liability. So
Yeah, so Mike kills the guy, but that is screwed up. That Jesse just like lets that happen. He's like, I don't give a shit.
yeah, and
So, but
Mike.
Mike tells Gus like, all right, this is a problem. The guy is gonna get us all caught.
Yep. And I like it too.
Being reckless, he's like, all right, cool. That guy stole my money. I don't care.
And I like it too because when it gets set up, Jesse just doesn't show up to work one day, and Walt's looking for him. He's consistently calling him because he thinks Jesse's just not giving a crap. But then when he finds out Jesse's not there and stuff, and we see like the next scenes like Mike taking Jesse out into like the desert or something like that. And I think we're left to think that like Mike's just gonna flat out kill Jesse. Now I would talk about. And Jesse doesn't even care too, like that it's gonna happen too. Like,
yeah,
Mike,
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say Mike is like, you're not gonna ask where we're going, and Jesse just says nope.
Yeah, I think this is
a little weird considering the next episode. Jesse's like kind of nervous, and he's like getting his keys ready to like stab Mike.
I think though that what it is like once you're faced with the the possibility of death.
Yeah, like he didn't care, but like once he realized like this situation, it's like, all right, I kind of care a little bit.
Yeah, and then in this episode too, we find out that Gus installed the cameras. I think it was episode 4 or 3. So it's pretty damn cool. And the next episode, Walt drives to Los Polos Hermanos to confront Gus about it. And he leaves like a voicemail to Skylar saying, because he thinks he doesn't know if he's gonna make out of this alive, basically saying like I love you and everything. It's just this consistent like chess match. Walt hasn't been able to like get near Gus.
Not even a chess match at this point. It's just Walt trying to get a chess match with Gus.
Yeah. And Gus just conveniently isn't there. It was pretty cool. And basically, and now I talk about in any other TV show, they would have done a scene where Mike tried to kill like Jesse, and like Jesse would like get away or something. But let's talk about the geniuses of Breaking Bad, where they completely like
what you think is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So Jesse is like, he gets out. He's in the desert with Mike, so he thinks Mike's gonna kill him. But he just tells Mike like straight up, like, you're probably gonna kill me, but I'm gonna get a couple hits in before I go down.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And Mike just says, yeah, no, stop acting stupid. And he gives Jesse a shovel. And they end up digging up, I forget what they dig up. Do you remember?
Money.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it was money. They put it in the car, and they just drive away. So pretty much, he only really needed Jesse to, like, as backup, as, like, a partner.
Yep.
And the reason they did this is because, one, it keeps Jesse, like, on a leash, so he's not, like, out being reckless.
Yep.
Makes Jesse feel important. And it drives a wedge in between Walt and Jesse, because, like, it's a big problem because he can't kill. If he kills Jesse, Walt won't do anything, and if he kills Walt, then he's screwed.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's kind of like, if he drives a wedge in him, they can't work together as well, and like, if they like have a falling out, then he can kill one or the other.
Yep.
So it's a really good strategy. Eventually, they make a stop, and a guy comes out with a gun and starts shooting at the car. that Mike had gotten out of, so it was just Jesse. Jesse ends up like almost backing into the guy and drives away. But we find out later on that Gus meets up with Mike, and Mike says it went exactly as you thought it would. The kid's a real hero.
Yeah.
So they kind of planned on this guy showing up to like rob the car. And
honestly,
Jesse,
I could see like this whole pickup thing. Like maybe they really do this, but I could see the whole thing just being like like trying to find a horseshoe and type of thing where like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they actually like want to go get the money, but like it probably was the main reason for it was to make Jesse partner with Mike.
And it's really cool, the behind the scenes of it. Like it really wasn't Jesse driving the car; it was like someone like disguised like as the seat and like doing it. It's actually pretty fascinating.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like they replaced like the seat with like a race car seat, and like they dressed the guy up like as if it was a chair. And it sucked though because he had to like get this perfect pretty much too. Like he had to hit like the right part of the car. And he couldn't look back because it would have given away that he was there. So he had to use the mirror to do it. So it was cool. But it's definitely a cool scene. I just like it too because it's like Breaking Bad kind of thinking outside the box. Like any other TV show would have had like the first thing happen where like Mike would have tried to kill Jesse and then it just would. I mean, it'd be exciting, but like this was just so. It was just so much better.
Yeah, good plot twist.
Yeah. So.
Or good subversion, I guess. Whatever.
And meanwhile, Walt's trying to kind of like, I think, Walt's struggling himself to like, do cook. So it kind of shows like Walt really does need Jesse because like he can't do the forklift or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. And Walt and Skylar finally sign off on getting the car wash, and Skylar overhears the message that Walt left earlier, and I think Walt covers it up by like they end up having sex. And
yeah, we're cousins, so we don't really want to talk about that with each other. It's kind of awkward.
One thing we can talk about though is like them being in like the criminal business has like rekindled the relationship a little bit.
They're a lot like closer now, I guess.
And I think too like one thing like that causes Walt I think to really crack under the pressure is he also kind of feels like, and this is just my opinion, he also doesn't feel like, he kind of feels like he's just kind of like back to kind of where he was at the beginning of the season, where he feels like he has like no control over anything. Because Skylar's trying to tell him like how to do every little thing now in the business. Like literally, like she's telling him like, why don't you just move back in? And she's telling like Walter Jr., you're gonna move back in this state. So he's kind of like having to do everything around her. He's got to worry about Gus and everything. So basically, I think he feels like he has like no control over anything now, pretty much.
I think it's a really funny scene when Walter Jr. like knocks on the door and Walt's like, yeah, just a second, son, we're just doing something. And then he just like Walter Jr. walks away and it's just like gross.
Yeah. There's a funny like I forget what they call him, but like blooper where it shows Bryan Cranston dressed up like a baby. It's pretty damn funny.
Oh yeah, and he's like, and Skylar's like, good boy. And he's like, no, I'm a bad boy.
Yeah, it's pretty damn funny. Why don't you talk about too the since you were kind of talking about it, the scene where Walt should have not gotten drunk.
Oh, wait, what?
I'm trying. The scene in Hank and Marie's when Walt's just consistently drinking.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry, we just jumped to a completely different scene. My bad. At Hank and Marie's, at the dinner scene, Walt gets really drunk, from all the stress, and he ends up telling Hank that this Gale guy, he doesn't, like his notes, it just looks fake, like it looks like he's copying off of someone. Walt justifies this by saying, like, I'm a high school teacher, kids, I can tell when people are just cheating off each other.
And it screws him over even more because like Hank was done with the case pretty much. Like he was gonna.
Hank like put it behind him. He got closure. Yeah. And then but then Walt, and I'm like, why is Walt doing this? And then he says, this genius of yours, he's probably still out there. And I'm like, oh, it's Walt's ego.
Yep.
And I like how Skylar says, like, after the whole like sex scene, she's like, that you being drunk was probably like your conscience. You were trying to like scream out for help, or something like that. No, just Walt being an egotist. God, Skype.
Can say it again.
Yeah, sorry. The whole scene with Skylar, she mentions that like she thinks Walt got drunk and like said all that as like a cry for help, or like that he's in over his head.
Yeah.
But really, Walt was just ego got the best of him, and he didn't like Gale getting credit for all he did.
Absolutely. And
and you can see Hank's face, and he's like, "Huh, maybe Heisenberg is still out there." So Walt screwed himself over yet again.
Yep. Because
Walt should just never get drunk or take medicine, because whenever he does, he ends up screwing himself over.
I know. The only time he didn't was season 3 in The Fly, but he almost did. Like
he almost
he would. Like I think if they didn't kill the fly and everything, I think if they had talked for like a couple more seconds, he would have screwed himself over. But meanwhile, the thing ends with Hank going through the case, and he's suspicious. And it's kind of like, I like it because it's like a little thing where Hank's suspicious that a vegan's eating at a chicken restaurant because he finds like a flyer for Los Polos Hermanos like in his stuff. So yeah, that was definitely interesting. And then we get to talk about one of the best scenes of season 4, and probably one of the best scenes in Breaking Bad, when Skyler's confronting Walt about why he did all of this. Walt pretty much ego is showing up even more because pretty much Walt says, if I stop going into work, a business implodes. And he says that he's the danger. I'm the one who knocks. And it's a pretty damn awesome scene.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's probably the most quoted scene in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like that and like the Say My Name are like the most quoted, pretty much.
Yeah. And it's really damn cool because, like I said, it's Walter in the room, but when it's Eisenberg that exits the room.
Yeah, I like how he's wearing like a light red jacket or something, and he takes that off, and it's like he has a dark red shirt or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it was? He took off something to get like dark color on to show like he's Heisenberg.
And then
and I like Skyler's face, like he says, "I'm the one who knocks," and then she realizes that like Walt was the one who technically killed Gale.
Yep.
And that like she really doesn't know Walt as well as she thought she did, because she thought he was like the chemistry teacher that started cooking meth for his family, and he got in over his head. Nope, he's Heisenberg. He did it because he's massive ego. And
what's really cool like about this is the whole episode kind of is like, not the whole thing, but most of the episode's building up like Skyler's gonna like basically just leave and like get out of town pretty much. She goes to like the like, I forget what it's called, but like the place, and like flips a coin, and
I think it's like a tri-state area or something, like or like a border.
And lands on like Colorado, but she just can't bring herself to like abandon her family pretty much, so she ends up staying. And the commentators point this out in like the inside thing where like Skyler had the opportunity in a sense to get out before it was too late, because if Skyler was ever going to leave away and walk away from any of this was the opportunity to do it right here.
Yeah. Although you get why she doesn't, like she's just going to leave her 2 kids.
Yeah. I'm just saying that they point this out, like.
Yeah. No, I get why. I'm just saying, like, you can't really blame her for staying.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is the episode that like we had known, we had seen in like the last season, something with the cartel was happening with Gus. Because Mike had to like go to that warehouse and like kill like a bunch of people from the cartel. And like people in the cartel like raided one of his trucks and like stole some of the meth. And Mike and Jesse have to like stake it out, and this is a pretty cool scene because this gave like Jesse an opportunity to really show his worth, because since he was a meth addict himself, he kind of knows like the ins and outs of kind of what they would do in certain situations. So he basically he distracts one of the guys by having him like dig for something, and then he goes in and like there was a guy that was clearly high on meth or whatever he was high on, and Jesse knocks him out, and we find like the Los Polos like bucket that they use to ship out the meth, and we see like there was a message on it. I forget the translation, but basically the cartel we know wants something from Gus. We just don't know what it is at this point. We
And
find out later.
I like the look on Mike's face when Jesse like outsmarts the meth addicts because it sets up like their close relationship in season 5. And if you've seen Better Call Saul, it's really sad. Like when you know more about like Mike's past and like why he took a liking to Jesse.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to say anything because you haven't seen Better Call Saul, but it's kind of sad.
I can just say because so and you see like Gus goes in there and he sets up a meeting with the cartel, and this is the moment Gus and Jesse this is the first time Gus and Jesse come like face to face like since episode 1, and Jesse wants to know because earlier in the episode Walt basically figures out like Gus's whole plan kind of in a sense, and you want to talk about that scene like when Walt and Jesse are like in the parking lot talking about it because you touched on it.
Yeah, sure. So, oh wait, are you talking about the one where Walt's like, "This is all about me"?
Yeah.
Okay. So Walt and Jesse are in the parking lot before they get ready to cook. Walt's asking like, "Where's Jesse's been?" And Jesse explains like he's been, being Mike's partner.
Yep.
And Walt is like questioning this, like, "What did you do? Are you like a secretly Navy SEAL and he never told me about it?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like, why did he pick you of all people to like be his right hand man?
Yep.
And Jesse's like, he needs a partner. He needs someone to back him up in case shit goes south. And like Jesse is being kind of naive here. Like it's kind of obvious that like, this is like a setup or like there's like an ulterior motive here.
Yeah.
But Walt just frames it in like the most like shithead way, like he's completely right, but he's being an asshole about it.
So I mean, he tries at first to kind of like the he does have some logic. Like when he talks about the robbery, like he said, like the guys like gave up really damn easy. Like if it was a real robbery, they wouldn't have given up that quickly.
Oh yeah, no, everything Walt says is like 100% right, and it makes sense. And I'm kind of like, Jesse, how did you not like put this together? But like Walt's explaining it in like such it's like he's like demeaning Jesse while he does it.
Yeah.
He's like, this is all about me. Like Gus doing this to get to me, and it makes Jesse. Jesse likes to feel important. So like when Walt's like twisting this to make it all about him, it like pisses him off.
Yeah. One small scene I want to talk about too is Walt basically has to like clean the lab by himself, and he just pays like a bunch of like 3 people that like work at the laundry to do it, and he thinks like finally he's gonna get like a checkmate on like, and it's not even like a big checkmate too. It's like a small, like the smallest battle. Yeah, and I like it too.
Those 3 people end up getting deported.
Yeah, and I like it because you pointed this out when we did the review. Like Gus won't even let Walt win the small battles. Like it's like,
Gus made it pretty clear when he killed Victor. Like I'm gonna make your life a living hell. You won't get anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Walt fucking went to Los Polos for dinner and Gus just came up and like spit in his drink or something.
Yeah, right. Or
just
like
to be an asshole.
Made Walt like pay like more money than like any customer level or something. Like
yeah, it's like okay, $5, but the sign says $4. $5.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I can imagine something like that.
And then it's just when you say that stuff, it reminds me of like the times where like Elwood Full Light and Death Note, like when he took Misa's phone and like he answered it and stuff. It was just it's great.
Yeah, stuff like that. That's pretty. Yeah. I wish we got a sitcom of just Gus trolling Walt.
Yeah, right. So then
it's like, I'm the one who knocks, and he's a knock, and it's Gus, and he's like, I'm not here to kill you. I just want.
Oh, we missed the opportunity for the joke. Walt didn't knock. Ted knocked.
Oh.
We blew that one.
Damn, missed opportunity.
But anyhow, This
Did
episode.
Jesse even knock? Didn't Jesse like ring his doorbell?
No, he knocked.
Oh, okay.
So then I imagine the scene did the difference. Like instead of him saying, because then he would have had to say, "I'm the one who rings the bell." It wouldn't be as it would not have been as. But then in the episode, Walt really much wants to buy off his son because like it's a pretty crappy situation. Everything that's happening, and he buys like Walter Jr. a car, and he buys like the most expensive, newest car out there.
Yeah, like a really awesome sports car. Like I wish I got that stuff.
And Skylar pretty much she comes back and says car has to go back because
and Walt's like trying to justify, like we're celebrating, I want to get my son a nice car for his birthday or something.
Yeah. And Skylar pretty much says that goes against our story. And because pretty much like they're gonna get caught because the neighbors are gonna think like all of a sudden now they can buy this brand new car and stuff like that when they're broke, supposedly. And I like that. I think it's an underrated scene where Skylar says it's kind of funny that I have to protect this family from the man that protects this family. And I kind of think that's funny because it was pretty damn true. Definitely by season 5 time, it was pretty damn true.
Definitely.
I think it's kind of sad to watch this scene because you see Skylar like doing all this fighting to kind of keep the story straight, but then in the early stages of season 5, she
really can't do anything.
Yeah.
So Walt, instead of taking the car back, drives around a parking lot doing like donuts and stuff, like just getting like an adrenaline high.
Yeah.
But eventually he crashes it. Yeah, takes the paperwork for the car, sticks in the what's it called, like the gas hole, whatever.
Sure.
The place you pump gas into anyway, and lights it up, and he calls the guy. He calls someone and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna need a pickup." And then as soon as he's talking on the phone, and the car blows up, and he's like, "Don't worry, you'll see me."
Yeah, that was pretty. I wonder how Walt spun that. Did he just go on the taxi and say, "I don't know, this car just blew up"? Like, yeah, like, because the guy, it's pretty cool. Like, can you imagine the taxi driver just like took. I'm not crapping on it. It's like the taxi driver just took his word for it too. It's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, I know, right? It's like that scene at the in season 1 when cars. Man, Walt hates cars. He blew up that guy's in season 1. He blew up this one. Yep. He attaches a machine gun to the one in season 5.
He destroys the one he's driving now. Like a lot.
He got those planes to blow up.
Yeah.
He ran over those 2 guys with his car. Walt just hates any like vehicle.
Maybe he thinks
He robbed a train.
Maybe he just thinks like too the world's gonna go green and no gas mileage or any of that crap.
Walt's like, people will buy my meth if they don't have cars or something stupid like that. I don't know. I don't know. I was going with that joke, but whatever.
So it was pretty cool. Walt blowing up the car. And then he's meeting with Saul, and Saul's like basically getting him out of legal trouble, pretty much. And Saul reveals to Walt that Jesse saw Gus, and this scene's the setup of like Walt trying to get Jesse to kill Gus, and
they bring up Bryson again, which is really cool.
Yeah, so Walt says, Jesse agrees to do it, and Walt in Gus's own lab makes the ricin. And they talked about this in the commentary, like, when Walt goes in that room privately, they had shot the scene first where Walt closed the door, but then they redid it because obviously that wouldn't make sense because like why would Gus not suspect something that like Walt was doing something suspicious if he went and closed the door? So they wanted, this is why I like Breaking Bad. They even think about those small like details like that.
Yeah,
like
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Although what's not cool is that they like show off the ricin in front of Gus's cameras like a million times, and Gus never catches on. Walt even brings that up later on in the season when Walt's like, come on, we showed the ricin in front of those cameras like a million times. Gus, of course, knew about the ricin, but he didn't. He didn't know about the ricin.
That's just crazy, yeah. Like, I don't hate it.
Like,
I guess I don't hate it.
Like, Jesse shows it off, and Walt's like, put that away. I'm like, really? Did Gus not catch on to that?
Yeah, they talked about it too, like right in front of the cameras too. Like,
I know they probably could have waved it around and like shoved it up their butts and been like, "Hey, by the way, this is poison. We're gonna poison you, Gus." And Gus, like, I wonder what that stuff is. You know?
Yeah.
What's so special about that cigarette?
Yeah, like it's we didn't talk about it at the time because we couldn't because like you don't really know that until like the end of the season that like Gus really like never knew about it.
Oh
like,
yeah, I mean, it would have been spoilery if I told you that like Gus didn't know about it.
Yeah. But it's just crazy. Me and AJ were literally talking about it. Like, maybe there's no way to spin it too. Like, maybe Gus just like wasn't watching the cameras at the time or something like that.
Which,
like,
I mean, I get he's a busy guy, but like, I mean, like, really, they showed it off like 3 times that we saw.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they did it a couple times.
Yeah, it's like it's really weird. Yeah. We talk about. Why don't you talk about too, like, you know, when Walt reveals the ricin and everything like that, I guess, because
So Walt makes the ricin, and you know, Jesse like sticks it in his cigarette.
Yep.
And Jesse's gonna just like wait till he's alone with Gus and he can like slip it into like his drink or food or something.
Yep. So then
and like, I mean, yeah, Walt Jesse's working with like Mike and stuff, but like he doesn't like Gus, you know, like he knows Gus is gonna kill him as soon as he gets the chance.
And they meet like Jesse, Gus and stuff have like the meeting with the cartel, like at that like same place, abandoned like chicken farm or whatever, like where Gus has like his main meetings, and
like Jesse starts to make coffee, but he's gonna pour the rice in, but like he doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't really explain why he doesn't. I think it's just because like he's nervous because there are like, you know, people in the room.
Yeah, and he's gonna drink from it too, so it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
I think he was about to, and Mike came in and interrupted it before then. So, and Gus prepares like this vegetables, and I'm thinking like 20 people from the cartel were gonna come have this meeting, but only like one guy shows up, and basically he's negotiating yes or no. We don't know what the negotiation is. We find out later it's so to give them, you know, Eisenberg's formula. But we don't really. It's very discreet at first, and I do like too because later on, Jesse's asking Mike like, "What does Gus see in him?" And Mike says loyalty, but he says that you have it for the wrong guy. So I think that's kind of cool, like a cool thing. And in this episode, why don't you talk about the scene, because this is the problem dog, and why don't you talk about why this episode's called Problem Dog?
Oh, because Jesse goes back to the building where, you know, they have like an AA meeting type of thing, and the guy from the rehab that Jesse went to for that weekend after Jane died was there, and I like the blooper where he comes out and he's like, Aaron.
Yeah,
they call Jesse by his real name.
Yeah, it was funny. Because you always think of that type of jokes like in movies and stuff. Like they had to have done it like at some point. And
oh yeah, I'm sure. And it reminds me of like El Camino, like they answer questions like before the movie.
Oh okay.
And the camera guy called Aaron Jesse by accident.
Oh yeah.
And the guy was like, and Aaron was like, really, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Jesse goes into the meeting and he starts talking about how he killed his dog, and like. The dog didn't do anything wrong or anything, and like it's clear like he's talking about Gail.
Yep.
And this lady's like at first is like trying to justify, you know, like, oh, the dog was sick, you know, put it out of your misery.
Yep.
And Jesse's like, nope, because like, you know, like he has the reason behind it, like he had to kill Gail, if not he and Walt would have died, but like Gail himself didn't do anything wrong. It's just like the people around them that put Jesse in that situation.
Yep.
So Jesse's like trying to come to terms with like Gail didn't do anything wrong. And obviously he can't say like, oh, I killed this guy. It's like, no, I killed this dog.
Yep.
But Jesse's just like freaking out, starts crying, and he's just like, he points out to the guy like, you said like we have to like accept ourselves. What? So like no matter what we do, we're good people. Like that's how it is. You killed your daughter. How do you live with that?
Yeah.
And
even
just oh yeah, what?
Continue.
Oh sorry. Jesse's like, I came here to sell you all meth. Huh? Do you accept that? And the guy's just like, no, I don't. And Jesse storms out.
I even like to
like I feel like it's kind of repeating the whole like I'm the bad guy thing Jesse did from like the end from the beginning of season 3.
But this was very well acted. I even love how Jesse kind of is like, yeah, about time you don't accept, because like he doesn't really want to make excuses for the stuff that he did. Like,
yeah,
hey,
he doesn't want acceptance. He's like, no, what I did was shitty.
Yeah, and obviously, I was gonna say this, but it's kind of funny. I hope this guy, like the leader of this thing, is in the movie. And it's gonna be funny because Jesse basically flat out admitted all the stuff he was doing. It just wasn't the guy couldn't take it in that context, because like he basically admitted like, hey, I'm working at the laundry, but how could the guy have thought like he was working at a meth lab at the same time? Like
or the meth lab was under the laundromat. Yeah. And like I like the look on the guy's face. Like he's not like angry or like pissed off. He's just like disappointed.
Yeah. So then, meanwhile,
but it is kind of a rehash of like the I'm the bad guy scene, but like it's done better.
Meanwhile, Hank starts investigating Gus. He goes to like his restaurant, and I thought I pointed this out at the time when we reviewed it. I thought it made Hank look smart that he went with Walter Jr. Because if he had just gone himself, I think Gus would have been like instantly suspicious. Like, why is a guy that's like a DEA agent coming? I feel like Gus, like,
Gus was probably like, oh, he's just here with his nephew, whatever.
Yeah, and he takes some of Gus' fingerprints, and basically, I'm just gonna give you the short version. Hank basically kind of explains everything that's been kind of happening, but he doesn't know exactly what happened. Like, he talks about like, why he thinks Gus is a part of this.
Yeah, well, he meets up with Steve Gomez and like the current like director of the DEA of Albuquerque.
Yeah, and
I do like how Hank explains it. Like, Gail had the picture of Los Polos, and Gomez was like, oh, just because what if they were meeting at KFC? You wouldn't think the Colonel was secretly like a meth kingpin.
And I think this really showed like how Hank changed as a character, because he like talked about this then like in an intellectual kind of type of way, where he's kind of doing this versus before, like before he had a hunch, he actually like did all the research. And I even love too, like when he finally pointed to Gus, the guys are looking at him like he's crazy, like, yeah, you're really reaching here. And then he's like, well, what are Gus's fingerprints doing at Gail Benneker's apartment?
Yeah, like he framed it like a business pitch, and I really like that. He wasn't just like, all right, it's Gus, and here's why. He really sold him on it.
Yeah. So then we have the last episode of this batch, episode 8.
I'm at 3 tabs for Breaking Bad. Every video, I end up opening a couple tabs when we talk about Breaking Bad scenes.
I know, yeah, we have to say what ones you opened this time. We forgot to do it last time. So, it cuts back to like the past, where Walt was talking to like Gus, how he was worried for his family, safety, and then we saw like the other cousin die of Tuco's, and we found out Mike poisoned him, and Gus pretty much, we find out this is the first time we find out that like Gus and like Hector had something happen, because Gus pretty much goes to Hector and kind of talks about the story, and he's basically lying to Hector, but Hector we have a feeling knows he's lying, but we see like Hector never looks at Gus like eye to eye. He always and we know
he looks away from him.
We know they have some type of past with each other, and I like because it cuts to like the next scene, and we'll talk about it in a second. But we see like this pool of like blood like fall, and we know like that's kind of connection with something. And then the DEA bring Gus in for questioning, and pretty much Gus.
Gus doesn't even know like he's like under like he's like a suspect at first. He's just like because like he helps fund the DEA, so he's like they probably just want to ask me some stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, pretty much Gus has like an alibi for like every story that they talk about, that they bring up, and you could probably sense like Gus was telling like some truth, like when he talks about like how he was at a charity event. He probably really was at a charity event.
And like he mentions like how he knew Gail, like he probably really did meet Gail the way he said.
And then we find out Gus has like this program called like the Max Man or something, thing for like for like chemistry at like the top colleges in Albuquerque and stuff. And we find out like it's in like memory of like an old friend of his or something.
And we find out that's the guy who dies at at the end of the episode.
Yeah. And one thing though that was pointed out is Hank asks Gus if that's his real name, if Gustavo Fring's his real name, and because we find out that Gus was from Chile, and there's no records of Gus like ever living there. So
the reason Gus like mentions is pretty solid. Like it's like, this was like a couple decades ago. Like records were pretty bad. I mean, that's like oh my god, like Irish immigrants, like or like immigrants in general, they just like, your name's kind of complicated. Your name's Smith now. There you go. Yeah.
But later in the episode, it's implied like Gus was like this big criminal in Chile. So
actually, it was kind of implied that he helped like bring down like the government.
Oh yeah.
He had ties to like a certain regime or something.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'm not super familiar with like Chile history, but something like that.
I like to
and I do like that we never really learn about his past. Like it's just kind of mysterious.
Maybe that would be Better Call Saul's territory.
Yeah, I mean, but like for the most part, I think it's better off just like we don't really know about it.
Yeah. I'm just
mention like give us a couple details, but like for the most part, it's better off like a mystery.
Yeah. And I like too when he goes back into like the elevator. He's like this well-mannered guy, but like he's like in like his drug kingpin mode. Like once he goes into the elevator.
Yeah, he's like, and like kind of, like you can tell he's kind of pissed off and like kind of like worried a little bit.
Yep. And Hank then asks Walt to bring him to a mineral show, and want to talk about that?
All right, so Walt drives Hank to a mineral show, but he realized where they're going, and they're going to the laundromat. And Hank is like, "Oh yeah, actually, I kind of like suspected this."
No, Los Polos Hermanos. They go to Los Polos Hermanos.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking about the other scene. They go to Los Polos Hermanos, and Hank tells Walt to like stick a GPS on Gus's car. And Walt doesn't want to do it for obvious reasons, but Hank is just like, this is kind of illegal. I kind of get why Walt doesn't want to do it. But
and we should talk about too. This is the first time Hank breaks bad, really.
Like he's like going outside the law.
Yeah.
I mean, technically he like beat the shit out of Jesse, but that was like in the moment. Like he wasn't like actively like trying to break any rules there.
Yeah.
Walt seemingly puts GPS on the car and then walks in.
Yeah.
Hank is like, what the fuck? I'm guessing Hank just like assumed that like Walt wanted to like go in and like order something so it looked more like believable. And
we see Mike too is watching them too.
Right. And then but Walt walks up to the counter and shows Gus the GPS and he's like, I didn't do it, so you don't need to worry about me.
Yep.
And Gus is just like, do it.
Yep. What's cool about this scene too, I'm kind of pissed we didn't talk about it at the time. Throughout the whole like season up to this point, Walt, couldn't get into a room with Gus, and he finally is in the same room with him, but he can't act on it. Like he just
like they're in a public place, he can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that makes Gus super happy. It's like, yep, I know you want to kill me. I'm like I'm like a foot away from you, but you can't do shit about it.
Yep. This is really cool because it's like what I like about Breaking Bad is even the people that are like enemies with each other, like even though Walt and Gus have their issues, they still want to like work together in a sense to kind of like keep the law away from them, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like they have common interests.
Yeah,
Uh, so eventually Walt comes out and he actually does put the GPS on the car,
yeah.
and they drive away.
Then, um, Walt tells Jesse pretty much that now they have to like kill Gus like immediately, pretty much
Yeah, because
because
like now like he thinks like, all right, because like Hank is like clearly a problem, so like he's like worried that Gus is gonna kill Walt out of spite, because of Hank.
yeah,
So it's like,
and
all right, we gotta hurry now.
oh, we do.
We had to hurry before, now we gotta hurry.
Oh, okay. I thought you, yeah. And then Walt even like goes to like the super lab and talks to the camera and tells like Gus like do not take action against Hank because like if Hank dies now and you do anything to Hank, it's gonna lead them to Gus and stuff like that. Um, and now this kind of screws up Gus because now he can't deal with the cartel like directly now pretty much because um Hank pretty
Now
much
the DA is like on his tail.
yeah. Um, so I kind of like it. Like now Gus has that having some struggles now in a sense. And then we find out too that Gus puts like the GPS like on a trash can like at the restaurant to make it look like he's just going back and forth. Because one thing that sucks about 2008 technology, they have to. It's not live. They had to come back later and hook it to the
Yeah.
computer.
So I mean that's
Because
something.
if this took place like today, they would have been able to like Hank would be able to like investigate this like live, like it'd be like a live GPS. So
Yeah. So
um
thank you 2008, I guess.
um 2008 helped Walt and Gus a lot, and everybody in this show.
Same with Death Note, just like, man,
Yeah.
if the internet was a thing back when Death Note took place, things would have been way harder for Light.
I mean, internet was a thing, but like
Yeah, but it was like its baby stage.
yeah,
It was like 2004, I think, when Death Note took place. Al could have just looked up. I think someone even made a comment on a YouTube video like, man, Death Note would have been so much quicker if Al just looked at Light's internet history.
yeah, right. Um, but then we have the end and the last scene we're gonna talk about. Oh no, actually, two. One thing we should talk about is Walt now has like some basically knows Jesse's lying to him because Jesse's lying now saying like he hasn't seen Gus and he hasn't had the opportunity to kill him. But when Jesse leaves the room, Walt looks like his phone and we find out like he finds out like Jesse's having some type of communication with Gus. So now Walt's like a little suspicious of whose side Jesse's on here. Then why don't you talk about the last scene we're going to talk about that goes into Gus's past?
We get a flashback of Gus in his earlier years when he was like first making connections to the cartel. We see Gus and his partner together, and we see young Hector pissing in the cartel boss's pool.
Yep.
And then they actually the big guy himself comes out, and he's pissed off that they tried to like bring their like product over the border. Now they were doing it because like they wanted to like bring attention, like bring their product to the attention of this guy.
Yeah.
But the guy took it as like an insult. And he's like saying, "Why shouldn't I just kill you right now?" And Gus is pretty silent during this, but Gus's partner Max is like saying like, you need us, we'll make you millions, and Gus is like the most brilliant man I've ever met. He saved me from the slums, and she's talking, and then all of a sudden, Gus like hears a bang, like there's like blood on his face, and he turns over and he sees Max had a bullet hole in his head, and he fell to the ground.
Yeah, and we should talk about too because this.
I love how like the sound goes out, like we're hearing it from like Gus's perspective, like he, he went deaf for a couple seconds because like the gunshot went right next to him.
We should talk about too how Hector was the one that pulled the trigger too.
Yeah, so that explains like what the blood feud between Gus and Hector.
Yep.
And Hector and Gus immediately tries to like, you can tell this is how different Gus is, because like he immediately like just flips out and tries to like attack Hector, but he gets like pinned down by the other guy, and he's placed right next to Max's dead body. And
Yeah.
if you notice, Gus's face is like completely mirrors Walt's in Ozymandias.
Yep.
It's like their lowest point is the same.
One thing we didn't talk about too, when Walt goes into Gus's restaurant and like they have that scene gets redone in season 5 when Lydia goes in like the car wash and like Walt's in like the Gus like wool kind of in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, this seems like
I feel kind of bad for Max. He seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah.
Briefly, I think someone on the crew said, I'm not sure if it was Vince Gilligan or the actor who played Gus or whoever, but they said that like, like it's like their relationship is like unconfirmed. Like they could have just been like brothers, or they could have been like lovers or something. It's not really confirmed.
Yep.
But like, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. I like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
feel like ambiguous.
Yeah, I kind of like it, but like they had some type of connection, and it explains.
Clearly, he was important to Gus because like Gus spent the next 30 years trying to avenge Max.
Yeah.
And he named like a grant after him. So.
And it's really cool because like now you kind of know why Gus is kind of like a guy that he is now. Like this scene like changed Gus forever. And I kind of like that we finally got like some backstory behind Gus.
Yeah, and they mentioned Chili in the flashback. Like the big man is like, I forget his name. I'm calling him the big
Don
man.
Don Diablo or something like that.
Oh yeah, Don Eladio. Or Eladio, whatever. He's just like, the only reason you're not dead is because I know who you are, but you're not in Chile anymore, so remember that.
And
so, like that like leads us to believe that like Gus was connected to some powerful people in Chile.
Don Diablo though should have just taken the shot because
would have saved himself a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah.
By the way, that poor pool, Hector pissed in it, Max's blood's in it, the guy falls in it and dies later. That pool is like contaminated beyond belief. Like, don't swim in that.
Yeah, right. And that's everything from the first half of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about a lot of things because a lot of things happened in this.
This first half of the season is a lot more depressing than I remember. Pretty much everyone is just like depressed and scared for their life.
Yeah.
Except Gus. Gus is on top. He's having a good time.
And well, at least at the moment, we thought Don Diablo because we hadn't even seen him yet, but we know he was living on top of the world. Yeah, this we're not gonna grade it, but I thought this really
we'll grade it in the second half. Yeah. But really great. Probably my favorite like first half of the season so far.
Yeah, up until probably
season 5 probably I like a little bit more, but
yeah,
this is really good.
Yeah, you got like the starting stages of Walt and Gus's war. You got to see like Jesse. Yeah, but it is kind of depressing. Yeah, because everyone's at like up until maybe season 5 at the end, everyone's like at their worst state in this part of the show.
Yeah.
Except Scott, except like even Saul, because he's kind of feeling for his life. And one big thing I want to mention is we meet what's his name? Huel. We meet Huel this season. This is his first season.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, I could have sworn he was in it earlier. Okay, cool. I said this off camera, but I like Gus. I mean, Mike and like we see Mike and like Jesse's like relationship is like getting built here.
Yeah, yeah.
When Mike first said his half measure speech to Walt, he was trying to get Walt to like let Jesse die.
Yep.
And like by the time season 5 rolls around, Mike really cares about Jesse, but he hates Walt with a passion.
Yep.
So like this part of the season is like Mike learning to like respect and care about Jesse.
Yep. This is when Mike, I think, starts to become like an integral part of the show. Because like season 3, he really wasn't an integral part till like the last few episodes, I would say.
Like really before this, he was just kind of like Gus's like henchman, like his like top guy.
Yeah, Gus and like Saul's a little bit. I kind of like to you got to see like the connection with like Gus and like why he is who he is. Just a lot of things I liked. There's none of that Scarlet Ted plot yet. That's the next batch of episodes.
Yeah, so that kind of bogs the season down. But really, the only problem I have with the season is like, again, they kind of rehashed the whole Jesse I'm the bad guy thing, but like they do it a lot better here, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And just like a couple like stupid moments where it's like, all right, how did Walt explain the car blowing up, and
Yeah.
like how did Gus not know about the ricin when it was on the camera so much?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
But like like you said, the lot like the behind the scenes special effects, like the car, like the seat in the car was really cool.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of good attention to detail that I really like. So like I feel like the good definitely outweighs the bad here.
Oh, definitely.
Breaking
Yeah.
Bad.
I know. Yeah. All right, that's pretty much it. We have nothing left to talk about. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Please make sure
see
you
you
guys.
in the second half of the season where we wrap up season 4 Breaking Bad.
Yeah, we'll probably. I don't know when we'll get that up because it's probably gonna be like Thursday because Wednesdays are busy days for AJ. So
yeah, 3-hour class tomorrow and math. So yay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna go order Domino's, guys. So yay.
Yeah, but make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel and click on the bell so that way every time you get the notifications for it. Yeah, the plan is to do I think if not this Monday, next Monday, the El Camino review will be up, but we're gonna record it sometime next week. So that should be fun. And then it's kind of sad because this is, in a sense, this is like our last like big Breaking Bad coverage until we like do the best scenes or whatever and stuff.
Yeah, and then we'll do Better Call Saul sometime in 2020.
Yeah. And then make sure you guys check out CM Brothers. We're gonna be coming back on there to make the Red versus Blue stuff. And our 400th video is gonna be Red versus Blue season 8 review. We cheated because we deleted one of the videos on there, so we cheated.
Yeah, we deleted just an update video that we immediately ended up changing like 5 seconds after.
And it's on this channel anyway, so it's kind of like
Yeah, who cared?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. Yep. So look forward to that, and we will see you guys later.
Almost Wrestling Fortune 44 for video 2000. So it's AJ makes an appearance on there. An announcement around Thanksgiving time. Me and AJ will do another video together, like in person, because
because I will be heading up to Massachusetts for Thanksgiving. I'll only be there for a couple days, so we can't do a whole lot. Like we can't just marathon like we did with Death Note, but we could probably get a couple videos done.
Maybe like we'll do a movie review or something.
Yeah, we'll maybe like finish a season of Red vs. Blue or something. Yeah, we'll figure it.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Oh, you can plug your channel now because it's videos.
Oh yeah, AJ Talent. I actually upload sometimes, sort of. Check that out.
Yep.
I'll probably make video game reviews because I just finished. I just bought Link's Awakening and Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. So
when I finish those, I'll make a video on that.
Yep. That's pretty much it, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.